Hello everyone and a happy new year. Welcome to 2022. I just did a summary of the UK property market, and in like fashion, I am going to do a summary of 2021 for the UK economy. The data is in for December, so we can take a backwards look over 2021 from January to December at some of my favorite key metrics and really describe what happened last year and where we think we're going to be headed in 2022. I'm keen for your inputs too, so let me know in the comments section down below if you agree or disagree with anything I say in this video. Predicting the economy is like trying to predict what Alan St. Maximin is going to do in the Newcastle game. Even the experts can't get it right year to year, so all help is welcome. So let's start with the stock market. We have seen 12% growth in the stock market from January to December. The FTSE 100 began the year at around the 6,500 mark and ended at 7,380. A really strong year, guys, by normal standards. What has driven that? Well, if we zoom out to a 5-year view, we start to see the fuller picture, guys. Prior to March 2020, when the global health crisis began, we can see that the index was averaging round about the 7,500 mark from January 2017 all the way up until February 2020, and then we saw this huge dip down to 5,000. 2020 saw the FTSE 100 average out at around about the 6,000 mark, and then it ended at 6,500, 14% below that 7,500 average over the previous 4 years. And as we just saw over the 1-year horizon, 2021 was a year of growth up to the 7,384, but we're still below the average prior to the global health pandemic of 7,500. So there's still more recovery to do to get us back up to where we were at before. And if we zoom out at 10 years, we can see a peak at round about 7,700 in 2018. So in summary, guys, the FTSE 100, the UK stock market, took a hard hit in March 2020, and we know that when we think back over the last 19 months, a lot of us were on furlough. Businesses across the UK were closed for extended amounts of time. Many people lost their jobs, supply chains were hit. Think of the recent oil driver shortage. So the economy has taken an absolute battering. We were in recession at stages over the last 19 months. The government, to be fair to them economically, have put in a lot of measures to recover the economy, and recovery has been pretty robust over the last 19 months, especially over the last 12 months. But there is still some recovery to go to get us back to where we were pre-pandemic and reaching new highs. And how are we going to get there, guys? Well, the answer is productivity. Productivity meaning the goods and services that we produce in the UK. If you studied economics, guys, or you read the Financial Times or the Economist, you'll know that that is the long-term driver of growth. It's not quantitative easing, it's not reducing interest rates, it's productivity. So let's look at two measures that we haven't looked at before. The first is UK manufacturing PMI. Now, what is manufacturing PMI? Well, in layman's terms, it's a measure of the performance of the manufacturing sector, and it's derived from a survey of 600 industrial companies covering their new orders, their output, their employment, their delivery times, and the stock of items purchased. And it gives us an indication of how healthy and how well the manufacturing sector is performing. A reading above 50 indicates that it is expanding, and below represents a contraction. So looking at 2021, and remember 50 is the magic number that we want to be above, we can see that we were just hovering above the 50 mark in the first couple of months of 2020. And don't forget, we were just coming out of a national lockdown then, rising to well above the 60 mark from May to August, and dipping as we come to the end of the year. And we should remember that towards the end of the year, manufacturing slows down because it's a seasonal activity like many areas of the economy. As we come towards Christmas, things start to slow down. So overall, manufacturing has been expanding throughout the year. Now, how does that look over a longer term period? Or if we expand to 5 years, we can see that in the longer term context, the last year to 19 months has seen the highest level of expansion on record over the last 5 years. Let's see what's happening over 10 years. That still stands. The peak of just over 65. We haven't seen manufacturing expanding to that level over the last 10 years. So that's good news for the economy and the prospects for long-term growth, with manufacturing being a key driver of that. Now let's also look at services PMI. Services PMI is the equivalent of the manufacturing metric that we just looked at. Once again, a reading of above 50 generally indicates expansion and below 50 indicates contraction. And the types of companies included within services are transport, communications, finance, business services, personal services, computing and IT, hotels and restaurants. And within these types of companies, we're tracking metrics such as sales, employment, inventories and prices. Now, services has seen growth for the majority of 2021. Again, in the first couple of months of the year, we were below that 50 threshold, so it was contracting. And I think we can attribute some of that to the fact that, again, we were just coming out of a lockdown. But from March onwards, we're above the 50 mark and services is expanding across the year. Now, how do these levels in 2021 compare to the longer term over 5 years? Once again, guys, it's really promising. Over the last 5 years, we've seen a long-term average at around, let's call this 53 mark. And then in the last 19 months, we've gone above that, pushing towards the 60 mark during 2020 with a slight drop towards the end of the year, and then overshooting 60 and really staying there or thereabouts for a good portion of 2021. If we go out over a larger time horizon, over 10 years, again, this point right here is the highest level of expansion in services in the UK over the past 10 years, and that's promising for 2022. And then moving on to that metric, that key metric that everyone's always talking about, guys, interest rates. Inflation has been steadily creeping up during 2021 from 1.5% in April to 3.2% in August to 5.1% in November. And truth be told, all of the analysts thought we'd get an inflation rise a lot earlier on in the year, but that didn't come until December, where we went from 0.1% to 0.25%. And the reason why the Bank of England raises interest rates is to essentially cool down the economy. If the cost of borrowing is higher, people and businesses tend to have less disposable free cash in their pockets and spend less, and therefore prices tend to drop. And that is what the Bank of England are trying to do by raising interest rates to 0.25%. I think they delayed it because they were trying to essentially stimulate the economy. They've done the quantitative easing thing from the beginning of the global health crisis to now. 500 billion pounds has been printed and pumped into the economy in the hopes that it would be stimulated. Interest rates were lowered to a historic low. And I think if the government were 100% transparent and honest with us all, I don't think it's worked as well as they'd intended it to. It has worked to an extent, but I don't believe to the degree that they really want it to. So I think that's part of the reason for keeping interest rates low for so long an amount of time, to give the economy as much chance and as much time as possible to bounce back. And when inflation became as far outside their appetite as it has been at 5.1%, time to increase the base rate. So how are we going to fare going forward in 2021? Two key words, guys: consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is a measurement of people's confidence in the UK economy's ability to bounce back in the next 12 months. We are human beings and we have feelings. So really, how we feel about the economy over the coming horizon is going to determine how much we spend and how it grows. Now, where do we stand in terms of a population and our confidence in the future of our own economy? Well, if we look at some articles from the BBC to start with, shoppers shun Christmas sales as footfall drops amid COVID fears. Guys, this constant fear mongering as it relates to COVID and new strains of the virus and the constant publishing of death rates and one lockdown after the another really is taking its toll on the population. It has a direct effect, guys, a direct effect on our confidence in the economy. And if we look at some of the anecdotal data here, we're seeing that the number of people taking advantage of post-Christmas sales on Monday fell by 32% compared with 2019, 2 years ago. That's a bit random. But there's a clear message here: persistent COVID concerns, guys. And when we consider that a lot of us actually saved money during the last 19 months, the majority of people still in work have been working from home. I personally have saved over £150 per month in money that I haven't had to spend on taking a train into work. So many people actually have more money in their pockets, but yet we aren't spending our money. And then in this other article in the BBC, a think tank has said that the cost of living is going to be squeezed in 2022. Why is that? Because of tax increases in national insurance. If you looked into Rishi Sunak's budget in April, I believe, of last year, he clearly spelt out that there are going to be rises this year coming and beyond in national insurance and other taxes to pay for all of the money that the government pumped into the economy during COVID, guys. So with these tax increases, it's going to be a tight year for many Brits, especially those at the lower end of the pay scale. They're going to be hardest hit, as they always are. Even the government acknowledged that. So again, probably not going to have the best impact on consumer confidence over the next year. And then lastly, related to the point that I just made regarding COVID, in The Guardian, they're talking about UK business confidence fading amid the Omicron spread. I'm not a doctor, so YouTube, this isn't misinformation, but from what we're hearing in the news, it seems as though the Omicron strain isn't as dangerous as the original COVID strain as it relates to mortality rates, but it is more infectious. And with the constant media attention and coverage of it, businesses and places of work are taking reactionary measures. So things like closing down offices, requiring COVID passports, or even shutting facilities altogether is having an impact on the economy. So guys, that is a summary of last year, and I've left it quite open, as you'll notice, in terms of where the economy is going to go in 2022. I think it really does relate to consumer confidence, especially in relation to the never-ending virus. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys soon.